So what do you see as the influences of media on contemporary ethical decision-making in public relations? What role does the media play in the way that public relations is making decisions?
Are you talking about new media or media in general?
Actually, the next question I was going to ask you
About
was
new
about
media.
new media. So we can talk maybe traditional media and then maybe go to new media. Or if you want to answer that
No,
together,
I mean,
you're more than welcome to.
The new media brings a new element, but of course in public relations you deal with the media. Not always. People sometimes confuse public relation with publicity, but we have a wider range of what public relation is, and for me, public relation is, a public relation executive is someone who is an advisor, counselor in communication. So it can be for a CEO who's writing a speech or going to talk to the shareholders. It doesn't always involve the press. It can be internal communication, but it involves the press very often, especially for commercial clients. And so ethics and the media, it's the same thing. You have to build trust with journalists. You have to make, the interest of your clients to defend, but you have your own reputation at stake. So you have to make sure there's a correct balance. You have to make sure you're comfortable doing what you do. Someone said, never do anything you don't want published in the front page of next morning newspaper. Or don't write an email that you would be embarrassed to read in court. We have to know that these things last. I had one experience where we had a problem with a client, and it was going to be news, and I knew the story, and we had really done nothing wrong, but there's some explanations. So I talked to David, Finn, and the executive committee, and they allowed me to speak freely to one journalist that trusted me. So I told her the story first, and she wrote a wonderful front page article for the press with the exact truth of what had happened. And this would not have happened unless she had trusted me and I trusted her. I had to trust her too, because she could take my words and turn them around and say different things. I've been on Fox. They called, I gave an interview and a letter, and I saw how the media can mislead you, can take a quote, put it in another context to give a totally different story. So there's also some unethical behavior on the media as well, especially when they already have a point of view and they're just trying to get something you said to reinforce that view.
Let's talk a little bit about, well, let's talk about counseling and a counseling role, transition a little bit from mentoring. The aim of the Arthur W. Page Center and the Arthur Page Society is to help individuals become counselors to leadership. So how can individuals best prepare themselves for this role, best prepare themselves to be counselors to leaders in public relations?
Well, I think you have to put yourself in the person you're going to counsel's feet, or shoes actually, and think what keeps him or her awake at night, what are the issues, what's the past, what's the history, what are the challenges, on the one hand. On the other hand, you have to be courageous. You can't be someone, if you're going to speak to the CEO, that's going to tell him what he wants to hear. And we've seen this in the political world, of people surrounding themselves with advisors that praise that person and tell him he's right, and then people with courage and integrity that will say things as they see them.
So how can individuals prepare themselves to be counselors? What are some of the things that they can do to be prepared to be a good counselor to leadership?
You mean in reading, or in what kind of
preparation as far as that, education, maybe even going back to some mentoring?
Maybe some psychology can help, studying psychology, because that helps in the interaction and the understanding of the other. I think that could be helpful. I think you need a dose of humility, because you can be wrong. You can be both forceful and humble at the same time. When you forceful when you know for sure, but we rarely know for sure. And you have to make sure that you always consider the person you're counseling's best interest at all times and not yours.